What if I told you that the difference between living a life of regret and living a life of fulfillment comes down to one simple choice: to chase your dream or to bury it? Every morning, millions of people wake up, hit the alarm clock, and drag themselves through routines they do not love, jobs they do not believe in, and lives they never truly desired. They smile on the outside, but inside they are suffocating. Why? Because they gave up on the very thing that once set their soul on fire. They allowed fear, doubt, and the voices of others to silence their passion. But you, yes, you, do not have to live that way. You have within you the power to chase your dream, to ignite your passion, and to live a life that makes you feel alive every single day. The only question is, will you dare? Chasing a dream is not about wishful thinking. It's not about daydreaming while waiting for the world to hand you opportunities. Dreams demand action. They require you to stand tall when others bend, to rise when others quit, to believe when others doubt. Think about every person who ever changed the world. Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Malala Yousafzai. They were not superheroes. They were ordinary human beings who refused to settle for ordinary lives. They had a vision, a burning desire, and they chased it even when the road was dark, lonely, and filled with obstacles. And because they dared to dream boldly, the world is different today. That is the power of chasing your dream. It not only transforms your life, but ripples outward to impact generations. But here's the harsh truth most people never want to hear. Chasing your dream is hard. It will test you, it will break you, it will laugh in your face and dare you to keep going. The dream doesn't come to the weak-hearted, it doesn't come to the easily discouraged. It only reveals itself to those who prove they can handle the weight of greatness. Think about it. If your dream came easy, would it even be worth having? Diamonds are formed under pressure, gold is purified through fire, and the life you crave will only be revealed when you show up with persistence, discipline, and courage, even when it feels impossible. Let's be real, most people don't fail because their dreams are impossible. They fail because they quit too soon. They give up when it hurts. They stop when it gets uncomfortable. They listen to the critics who laugh, the family members who say be realistic, and the friends who secretly hope they fail because it makes them feel better about not chasing their own dreams. But the dream is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to stretch you, to challenge you, to make you grow into the kind of person who can carry it. Every setback, every rejection, every painful moment is a test asking, do you really want this, or do you only want it when it's convenient? Here's something to burn into your mind. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. If you want to chase your dream, you have to break up with comfort. You have to step out of the predictable routines, the safe paths, and the easy excuses. Growth only lives in discomfort. Passion only thrives when you dare to do the things that scare you. Remember this, fear and faith both demand belief in the unseen. The difference? Fear will paralyze you, but faith will push you forward. Which one are you choosing today? Every successful person you've ever heard of had a period in their life where no one believed in them. No one saw the potential. No one understood their obsession. They were mocked, they were doubted, they were rejected, and that rejection became the fuel. It made them hungrier. It made them train harder. It made them more dangerous. Because once you realize you don't need anyone's permission to win, you become unstoppable. They laughed at the ones who dared to dream differently. But no one's laughing when the dream becomes reality. That's your path, that's your mission, and it starts with you. When you do it alone, you begin to master yourself. You learn how to keep promises to yourself. You develop discipline that doesn't depend on mood. You don't rely on accountability partners. You become your own. You push through fatigue. You overcome setbacks. You refuse to fold. And every time you get back up without a hand reaching down to help you, you gain more power. Your self-belief strengthens. Your vision crystallizes. Your habits deepen. You start to realize how much time you've wasted relying on others to do what only you could do. You were never supposed to be average. You were never meant to follow. That frustration inside you, that restlessness, that's your soul screaming to be more, and the only way you answer it is by acting alone. There's no crowd at the beginning, no praise, no recognition, no spotlight, just you. The grind, the work, the pain, the process. But if you keep showing up, keep evolving, keep believing, the day will come when the world can't ignore what you've become. And on that day, they'll ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile. Because you'll know the truth. You did it without them. You did it without applause. You did it without shortcuts. You did it when no one else cared. You did it when no one else believed. You did it when you were tired, frustrated, and unseen. You did it anyway, alone. So if you're waiting for someone to motivate you, stop. If you're looking for a push, push yourself. If you're hoping someone notices, start noticing yourself. The most powerful movements in history started with one person who decided enough was enough. One person who dared to go alone. One person who believed so deeply in what they were becoming that they didn't care what anyone else thought. Be that person, do it alone, and never look back. The road to greatness is never crowded, not because people aren't capable, but because most people are afraid of failing, afraid of judgment, afraid of being misunderstood. But fear is not your friend, it's a test. And if you want to lead, if you want to win, if you want to evolve into something powerful, you have to walk a path that most people avoid. That's what separates the driven from the distracted. That's what defines the ones who change the game. They don't follow footsteps, they create their own trail. And more often than not, they do it in complete isolation, not because they want to, but because they have to. You have to understand something. Not everyone can come with you. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you. The higher you climb, the fewer people you'll find around you. The air gets thinner, the stakes get higher, the journey gets tougher. But that's the cost of transformation. The people you started with may not be strong enough to endure the pressure. The crowd that once cheered you on may turn silent when the results take time. Don't take it personal. Growth scares those who remain stagnant. Elevation intimidates those who fear change. So when they distance themselves, let them go. When they question your choices, stay focused. Because the only approval you need is your own, and the only direction you need is forward. Doing it alone is not about isolation, it's about intention. It's about choosing your mission over meaningless noise. It's about investing your time into progress, not popularity. It's about cutting the distractions that dilute your potential. People will try to pull you into their drama. They'll bait you with gossip, opinions, and comparisons. Don't fall for it. You weren't born to live their life. You were born to build your own. And building requires a different frequency, a different mindset, a different pace. You can't move like everyone else and expect to stand out. You can't think like the crowd and expect to lead. Leadership is lonely for a reason. It demands clarity. And clarity only comes when you shut out the noise and focus. You'll notice this truth quickly. The louder your purpose becomes, the quieter your circle gets. As you grow, conversations shift. Priorities change. Time becomes sacred. You no longer tolerate small talk. You no longer entertain laziness. You stop explaining your vision because you realize some people don't want to understand. They just want to feel superior. And that's okay. Let them stay comfortable while you stay committed. You're not here for applause. You're here for alignment. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to improve yourself. And that means embracing the uncomfortable moments, the late nights, the early mornings, the grind when no one is watching, the work that earns no credit but builds the foundation for everything that's coming. Most people look for shortcuts. You're building strength. They want handouts. You're earning your spot. They wait for opportunity. You create it. That's why your walk looks different. That's why it feels heavy. But every step you take alone is a declaration of power. It's proof that you don't need external motivation. You generate your own fire. It's evidence that your standards are higher than your excuses. It's the mark of someone who's already decided to win before the results even show up. The path you're on won't make sense to everyone. You'll lose people, you'll lose comfort, you'll lose sleep, but you'll gain something far greater. You'll gain mastery. You'll gain freedom, you'll gain respect, not from others, but from yourself. That's what matters most. The person you become when you stop compromising, stop waiting, stop seeking. That version of you, that's the real you. And they only show up when you do the work alone. People will question your focus. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you distant. Let them talk. You don't owe anyone an explanation for leveling up. They didn't see the tears. They didn't feel the pressure. They didn't hear the self-doubt. They didn't survive your breakdowns, so they don't get a say in your breakthrough. You've sacrificed too much to let small minds limit your next move. You fought too hard to let fear derail your discipline. Keep walking, keep building, keep grinding, alone if you must. Because the rewards coming your way will make every lonely moment worth it. Greatness doesn't broadcast its progress, it reveals its power through results. So let your work speak. Let your consistency roar. Let your growth be the proof. You're not the same person you were. You've evolved. You've suffered. You've outgrown old habits, old circles, old versions of yourself. And that evolution didn't happen in the spotlight. It happened in solitude. In the quiet spaces where most people quit, you persisted. In the moments where everything screamed, give up, you whispered, keep going. That's what sets you apart. The road is long, but every step is building something they can't see. Every sacrifice is stacking into strength. Every lonely night is making you mentally unshakable. Most people want instant validation. You want long-term transformation. That's why you're willing to delay the spotlight. That's why you can ignore the noise. You're playing a bigger game. You're not here to impress. You're here to build. You're not looking for a round of applause. You're looking to rewrite your legacy. The path you're on requires toughness. It requires vision. It requires resilience that isn't taught in classrooms. You earn it through experience. You sharpen it through repetition. You strengthen it through solitude. So don't fear the lonely road. Respect it. Embrace it. It's the very thing turning you into a force the world cannot stop. One day, the same people who didn't understand your isolation will admire your elevation. But you won't need their validation by then, because by that time, you'll already be far ahead. Too focused, too disciplined, too powerful to care about opinions that never mattered. So walk your path, even if it means walking alone. Choose your mission over comfort. Choose discipline over distraction. Choose growth over groupthink. The unpopular path isn't easy, but it's worth it. And you're built for it. You're not here to be average. You're here to become something extraordinary. But that version of you can only be forged when you stop depending and start deciding. Decide to rise, decide to move, decide to be relentless, even when the room is empty. That's where legends are born. This is your journey, your fire, your time. Light it up, burn for what you believe in, and if no one walks beside you, walk anyway, do it alone. You do not need to be invited, you do not need to be accepted, you do not need to be celebrated before you begin. The world has trained people to wait for validation, for praise, for someone to tell them they're good enough. But here's the truth. If you wait for someone to give you permission, you'll spend your entire life standing at closed doors. You are the permission, you are the key, and the lock was never made to keep you out. It was placed there to see who was willing to break through. So if you're waiting for someone to give you a green light, realize this: the light is already green. Go, move, start, do it alone. Most people fear rejection, they fear standing out. But you weren't born to blend in. You were born to blaze trails, to set fire to what others called impossible. That level of determination, it demands isolation, not because you hate people, but because your purpose is so sacred, so specific, that not everyone can handle its intensity. You have to protect it, you have to nurture it, you have to honor it by not watering it down for people who can't see its value. That's why doing it alone isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You're not cutting people off, you're cutting off noise, you're cutting off delays, you're cutting off everything that slows down the mission. And there's nothing selfish about choosing focus. There's nothing wrong with protecting your peace. You're not cold, you're committed. The deeper your vision, the less accessible you become. Not everyone will understand why you disappear. Not everyone will comprehend why your phone stays on silent, why you're unavailable on weekends, why you stop showing up to distractions disguised as fun. Let them talk. Let them assume you're not here to explain, you're here to execute. And execution demands your full energy. While others waste hours defending their plans, you're building quietly. While others announce every goal, you're achieving them in silence. That's power, that's maturity, that's the shift most people never make. But you've already made it, because you're not looking for handouts. You're building something from scratch, something real, something lasting. There's a moment in every achiever's life where they stop asking and start acting. That moment defines everything. It's the turning point, the inner decision to stop giving your power away. No more waiting for the perfect moment. No more looking around for agreement. You don't need a committee. You need commitment. You don't need applause. You need action. You don't need consensus. You need courage. And courage doesn't always feel strong. Sometimes it feels like doubt. Sometimes it feels like fear. But you act anyway. That's what separates leaders from the crowd. They do it afraid, they do it unsure, they do it when no one else is doing it. Because they're not guided by emotions, they're guided by purpose. People will call you obsessed. Let them. People will call you extreme. Accept it. People will say you've changed. Be proud of it. Change is the point. Elevation is the goal. You weren't meant to stay the same. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to shift. You're supposed to become unrecognizable to the person you used to be. And that transformation, it's uncomfortable, it's messy, it's confusing, but it's necessary. And it only happens when you stop asking for permission to evolve. Don't apologize for growing. Don't shrink to make others feel comfortable. Don't dim your light to keep the room from noticing. Shine. Shine so bright that it blinds the doubters. Shine so boldly that the ones still playing small feel convicted. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be legendary. And legendary requires isolation. Legendary requires a willingness to walk through the valley without turning back. Most people only love you when you stay familiar. The moment you rise, they get uncomfortable. That's when the whispers start. That's when the support fades. And that's when your real power awakens. Because you finally realize you never needed them in the first place. You were E strong before they clapped. You were powerful before they noticed. You were enough before they approved. Now you're just proving it to yourself. Every time you show up alone, every time you choose focus over fun, every time you stay committed when it would be easier to quit. That's how legends are built, not in crowds, but in silence. Not with applause, but with discipline. Not in comfort, but in chaos. Your refusal to quit is your loudest statement. Your dedication is your greatest weapon. Keep using it. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always feel seen, but you must always remain consistent. Consistency is what turns lonely nights into legacy. Consistency is what transforms confusion into clarity. You won't see the results immediately, but if you keep showing up, something powerful happens. Your habits become identity. You stop acting like a disciplined person. You become one. You stop faking confidence. You develop it. You stop wishing for change, you become the change. And when that switch flips, when you stop pretending and start living your power, no one can stop you. Not critics, not delays, not setbacks. You become unstoppable, not because the road gets easier, but because you get stronger. Doing it alone teaches you that the only person you can truly count on is the one in the mirror. That's not a sad truth, it's an empowering one. Because when you stop depending on others to keep you going, you become immune to disappointment. You stop falling apart when people leave. You stop losing your identity when things go wrong. You build an inner strength that's unshakable. That's what doing it alone gives you. Independence that can't be taken, confidence that can't be shaken, and fire that can't be extinguished. They may doubt your process. They may laugh at your silence, but when the results speak, they'll listen. They'll ask how you did it, and your answer will be simple. I did it alone. Not because I wanted to prove a point, but because I had no other choice, because I believed in something greater than comfort, because I wasn't willing to settle for average, because I knew that what I carried inside me was too rare to waste. So let them judge, let them misunderstand, let them walk away. That's their loss, not yours. You have work to do, you have heights to reach, you have a version of yourself you haven't even met yet. And that version is waiting on the other side of your excuses, the other side of your fears, the other side of your comfort zone. Get there, not by waiting, not by asking, but by deciding that you will rise, even if you have to rise alone. Every step you take in solitude is a statement of power. Every moment you stay committed is a signal to the universe. You're ready, you're hungry, you're serious. And you don't need anyone to hold your hand. You've got this. And when you cross that finish line, when you look back and see what you've built with no applause, no permission, and no shortcut, you'll feel something unexplainable. You'll feel unbreakable because you did it alone. The moment you decide to rise is the moment the world starts making noise. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something different. The moment you distance yourself from the pack, the questions begin. Why are you changing? Why are you working so hard? Why are you so serious all the time? But deep down, you already know the answer. You're done wasting potential. You're done repeating cycles. You're done waiting for people to believe in a vision that wasn't given to them in the first place. You're not chasing attention. You're chasing transformation. That's why it's noisy. That's why it feels heavy. Because evolution makes others uncomfortable. And the more you level up, the more distractions will try to follow. Doubts will whisper louder, critics will multiply, comfort will call your name. But that's where warriors are born, in the friction, in the silence, in the moments no one else can see. You don't grow by standing in rooms full of applause. You grow by standing tall when it's quiet, when the lights are off, when no one checks in, when you still choose to show up, not because anyone's watching, but because you made a promise to yourself. And when you keep showing up alone, that's when the noise around you loses its power. There will be days when the world gets louder, when negativity surrounds you, when your inner voice feels like it's screaming through static. You'll want to respond, you'll want to defend yourself, but don't. That's not your battle. Your focus is too valuable to be spent on people who aren't screaming through static. You'll want to respond, you'll want to defend yourself, but don't. That's not your battle. Your focus is too valuable to be spent on people who aren't building anything. Don't let small minds pull you into small conversations. Don't let limited people put limits on your potential. Rise above, keep your vision sacred, keep your goals guarded. You don't need to prove anything to anyone who doubts your silence. Your success will be louder than any explanation you could give. Doing it alone doesn't mean you close your heart. It means you protect your energy. You're not bitter, you're building, you're not isolating out of fear, you're separating to grow. There's a difference between being lonely and being intentional. You're choosing solitude because the mission requires clarity. And clarity demands that you remove noise, eliminate confusion, and filter out distractions. You begin to understand that peace is your power, silence is your weapon, focus is your edge. In a world obsessed with being seen, you become powerful by being invisible. Let the others chase attention. Let them post every move. Let them try to go viral. You're not looking for short bursts of applause. You're building long-term impact. That requires patience. That demands emotional control. That calls for stillness and chaos. And you won't find that in crowds. You'll find it in discipline. You'll find it in your routine. You'll find it in every early morning when you wake up without motivation but still move like your life depends on it. That's what it means to rise above the noise, to keep working when it's not exciting, to keep grinding when it's not trending, to keep growing when no one's cheering. People won't always understand your silence. They won't get why you disappear, why you decline invitations, why your circle gets smaller. But you're not doing it for recognition, you're doing it for results. You've seen what distractions can do to your discipline. You've watched what inconsistency does to your confidence. So now you guard your time like treasure. You protect your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Every minute spent explaining yourself is a minute stolen from execution. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them assume. Your progress will reveal the truth. You don't have to convince anyone you're serious. You don't have to broadcast your goals. Just show up every day, relentlessly, with zero excuses and maximum effort. That's how you rise. That's how you silence noise. That's how you turn chaos into clarity. You're not here to be loud. You're here to be legendary. And legendary people aren't defined by popularity. They're defined by purpose. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You shine in your silence. You shine in your work ethic. You shine in your refusal to give up when everything around you says quit. As you grow, people will test your boundaries. They'll question your distance. They'll miss-eye. Interpret your silence. Don't take the bait. Don't let their insecurity provoke a reaction. You don't owe them words. You owe yourself progress. You don't need to match their energy. You need to stay locked in on your own. Because your legacy isn't being built in debates. It's being built in discipline. You're not here to react, you're here to rise. And rising requires that you ignore the noise and keep building even when no one sees the foundation. Because once the results rise, no one can deny the structure. The truth is, most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. But that's where your power lives. In the mirror, in the routines, in the repetitions that no one claps for. You start realizing you don't need motivation, you need consistency. You don't need an audience, you need a plan. You don't need external pressure, you need internal standards. That's the shift, that's the rise, that's the power you gain when you choose to keep going alone. You stop chasing and start building. You stop hoping and start executing. You stop explaining and start becoming. There will come a time when everything around you is silent. No calls, no texts, no support, no hand on your shoulder. That moment is your greatest gift, because that's when you meet the real you, the version of you that doesn't need permission, the one who creates strength in solitude, the one who becomes immune to the noise. That version of you is the one who will carry you through every obstacle, every delay, every dark season. Don't fear becoming that person. Embrace them. They are your warrior. They are your edge, and they are forged through fire. People love the result. They'll show up for the celebration. They'll want to be part of the finish line, but few are willing to stand in the silence of the start. Few are willing to endure the middle, the doubt, the delay, the discipline. That's why your path is different. That's why it feels quiet. That's why you must walk it without needing applause, because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for the future you, the one who looks back with no regrets, the one who remembers how you kept walking even when the path was invisible. That version of you is proud, and they are waiting. So rise. Rise above the criticism. Rise above the expectations. Rise above the noise. Be the one who kept moving when the world paused. Be the one who stayed disciplined when others gave in to comfort. Be the one who chose vision over validation. You don't need to speak loudly to prove yourself. Your results will echo for you. Stay silent. Stay focused. Stay dangerous. Let your success be the sound they hear. Because when it's all said and done and you're standing on the mountain you climbed by yourself, they won't remember the words you said. They'll remember the strength you showed. And in that moment, you'll smile. Not because they finally see you, but because you never needed them to. You rose above the noise. You did it alone. One day they'll ask how you did it, how you endured the silence, how you kept your head down while others craved attention, how you managed to keep building when the weight of loneliness felt unbearable. But what they won't see, what they'll never fully understand, is the fire that burned inside you when no one else saw the spark. They'll admire the results, the transformation, the rise, but they'll never feel the nights you spent with doubt pounding in your chest and no one there to calm it. They won't know the battles you fought behind your own eyes, and they won't realize that your greatest power was not found in being followed, but in choosing to walk alone when the road demanded solitude. Because legacy is not born in noise, it's forged in the quiet work. In the early mornings when your body screams to stay in bed, but your mind knows the mission. In the lonely nights when you could have chosen comfort, but instead chose growth. In the 1,000 silent sacrifices no one clapped for. While others scrolled through validation, you were stacking discipline. While they chased attention, you chased purpose. While they celebrated weekends, you built foundations. And now the structure stands tall, not because you were lucky, but because you were relentless. There's something pure about choosing to do it alone. It removes the illusion of support. It forces you to meet the rawest version of yourself, the one who has no one to impress, no one to please, no one to lean on but your own determination. That version of you isn't polite. It's not concerned with fitting in. It's a version driven by conviction, fueled by hunger, rooted in truth. You stop dressing your wounds in excuses. You stop outsourcing your future to opinions. And you start becoming the person you needed all along, resilient, grounded, unshakable. When you choose to do it alone, you stop waiting for others to understand. And your path, you realize that most won't. They'll think you're distant. They'll say you've changed. But the truth is you finally remembered who you were before the world told you to shrink. You remembered the fire. You remembered the dream. You remembered the standard you were born to uphold. And in that remembering, you lost the need for approval. You lost the desire for permission. You gained something far more powerful, self-trust. Because once you trust yourself, no one else's validation is necessary. And it's in that self-trust that your legacy is built. You start moving with intention. You stop second-guessing your vision. You walk differently. You speak less. You listen more. You act decisively. You cut ties with what drains you. You release what no longer aligns. You stop trying to save people who choose not to save themselves. You understand that protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's strategic. Because your energy is currency, and every time you spend it on the wrong people, your future pays the price. So you walk alone. Not in bitterness, but in purpose. You no longer fear solitude. You see it as sacred ground. That space where your thoughts are unfiltered, your goals are unedited, your dreams are undiluted, and your vision is crystal clear. In solitude, you build the resilience that comfort never could. You train your mind to stay focused when the world gets loud. You train your heart to stay soft when the world grows cold. You train your soul to stay aligned even when success tempts you to stray. That kind of power isn't taught, it's earned. And it's earned in the isolation where most people give up. The truth is, not everyone is meant to walk with you. Some people were only there to teach you what you don't need. Some seasons require detachment, not because you're better, but because you're different. You're not here to stay stuck in cycles. You're here to break them. You're not here to blend in. You're here to disrupt. And disruption demands separation. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you let go of the people, habits, and patterns that dilute your destiny. That's the price of elevation. You must release what weighs you down. But as you rise, something shifts. You stop resenting the alone time. You start craving it. You see solitude as fuel, not punishment. You recognize that your power grows in silence, that every distraction you cut away sharpens your focus, that every step you take alone strengthens your foundation. And before long, the very isolation you once feared becomes your sanctuary, your advantage, your edge. And in that space, you don't just survive, you thrive. Eventually, your results will speak volumes. People will ask how you managed to shift so much. They'll admire your discipline, your clarity, your growth. But what they won't realize is that every visible success was built on invisible moments. The times you held yourself accountable, the nights you cried but still studied, the mornings you woke up exhausted but still moved, the conversations you had with yourself when your soul wanted to quit. That's what built you, not applause, not followers, not validation, just grit, just grind, just God, just you. And as your success compounds, your peace expands. You no longer chase people. You attract what aligns. You no longer need to prove yourself. You live in proof. You no longer crave praise. You praise the journey. That's the quiet confidence that doing it alone gives you. The kind that doesn't need to speak to be felt. The kind that turns heads not because you ask for attention, but because your results demand it. You become a presence, a force, an example of what happens when someone refuses to fold. And the best part, you inspire without trying. Your life becomes a lighthouse to those still lost in noise. You become living proof that solitude doesn't mean weakness, it means strength in its purest form. That being alone doesn't mean being empty, it means being whole. That silence isn't a void, it's a forge. You walked through the fire without witnesses, and you emerged unburnt, not perfect, but powerful, not unscarred, but undefeated. This is the legacy of doing it alone. You didn't wait for someone to give you permission, you gave it to yourself. You didn't wait for someone to say, "You got this." You looked in the mirror and whispered, "We're not done yet." You didn't depend on a handout. You reached within and found something stronger than luck, resilience. You didn't just talk about your goals, you lived them in silence. You bled for them, you broke for them, you rebuilt for them. And now you stand, not as someone who had it easy, but as someone who did it anyway. You turned isolation into elevation. You turned pain into power. You turned silence into a symphony of strength. And when they ask who helped you, when they ask who was behind your success, you'll smile, not out of arrogance, but because you know the truth. You did it alone, and that made all the difference. When you chase your dream, you begin to unlock layers of yourself you never knew existed. You find strength in struggle, patience in delay, resilience in failure, and clarity in chaos. Life will test you not to break you, but to refine you into the kind of person who can handle the magnitude of the dream you desire. Imagine someone being handed everything they ever wanted without effort, discipline, or growth. They would crumble under the weight. But the dream chaser who has walked through fire, endured storms, and refused to surrender, that person is unshakable, unstoppable, and undeniable. The process of chasing your dream is what builds the version of you who deserves to hold it. But here is where most people fall short. They think chasing a dream means one big leap, one lucky moment, one miraculous breakthrough. That's not how it works. Chasing your dream is a daily commitment. It is waking up and doing the hard things even when you don't feel like it. It is putting in the work when no one is watching. It is saying no to excuses and yes to discipline. It is running the small races that eventually prepare you for the marathon of success. Every great mountain is climbed one step at a time. Every masterpiece is painted one stroke at a time. Every empire is built one brick at a time. Dreams are not conquered in a single moment of glory. They are earned through countless moments of persistence that no one else sees. And as you move forward, let me remind you of something powerful. Chasing your dream is not a selfish act. It is one of the greatest contributions you can make to the world. When you live your passion, when you bring your unique vision to life, you inspire others to do the same. You create opportunities, solutions, and beauty that did not exist before. You remind humanity of what is possible. Think about it. Where would we be if inventors gave up on their idea? If leaders gave up on their vision, if artists gave up on their creations, we would live in a colorless, hopeless, stagnant world. But because they chased their dreams, the world changed. You carry that same responsibility. Your dream has the potential to touch lives beyond anything you can imagine, and the only way the world can receive that gift is if you dare to chase it. Do not mistake temporary struggle for permanent defeat. The journey will not always look like progress. There will be days where nothing seems to move forward, where the effort feels wasted, where the mountain looks too high to climb. But that is where faith comes in. Faith in yourself, faith in the process, faith in the dream, faith that every seed you plant will grow in time, even if you cannot yet see the harvest. Too many people quit in the waiting season, not realizing that their breakthrough was just one more step away. Do not let that be you. Be the person who refuses to quit. Be the person who keeps showing up, keeps working, keeps believing, because in the end, persistence always wins. Chasing your dream also means embracing risk. You cannot play it safe and expect to live an extraordinary life. Safety may protect you from failure, but it will also rob you of fulfillment. Playing small does not serve you, and it does not serve the world. You were not born to blend in, you were born to stand out. The dream in your heart requires courage, boldness, and a willingness to leap into the unknown. Will it be scary? Absolutely. But fear is not a stop sign. It is a signal that you are stepping into growth. Do not run from it. Run through it, because everything you want, everything your heart longs for, is waiting for you on the other side of fear. And let us talk about time, because it is the one resource you can never get back. Too many people waste years waiting for the perfect moment, not realizing that the perfect moment does not exist. The only perfect moment is the one you decide to act. If you do not chase your dream now, when will you? Tomorrow? Next year? After things settle down? Life will never slow down for you. There will always be bills, responsibilities, and obstacles. The right time will never come. You must create it. You must decide that today is the day you start. Not when you have everything figured out, not when conditions are ideal, but now. Action creates clarity. Action creates momentum. Action is what transforms your dream from a thought into reality. And here's the truth. There will never be a finish line. Once you achieve one dream, another will rise. Once you conquer one mountain, another peak will appear. That is the beauty of the human spirit. We are wired to keep growing, keep striving, keep creating. So do not chase your dream thinking it will be the end of the road. Chase it knowing that it is part of the journey, part of the unfolding story of your life. And along the way, celebrate. Celebrate your progress, your growth, your courage. Celebrate the small wins as much as the big victories, because they are all proof that you are moving forward. So let me leave you with this final call. Stop waiting, stop doubting, stop wishing, and start chasing. Your dream is not too big. You are not too late. You are not too small. You are exactly who you need to be, and you have exactly what it takes. The dream was given to you because you are capable of achieving it. So rise up, step forward, commit to yourself, to your vision, to your passion. The world is waiting for what only you can bring. Your time is now. Chase your dream with fire. Chase your dream with courage. Chase your dream with relentless determination. And when you look back one day, you will not just see achievements, you will see a life fully lived, a soul fully expressed, and a legacy that echoes long after you are gone. This is your story. This is your moment. Go out there and make it unforgettable